Welcome to A New View. We are Restored Ministries, and I'm Michelle Ballum, and I have with us Kim Weingart. And we're going to be talking today, since it's November 1 as we're filming this. This is a new day, a new month, ushering in a new season,
That's right.
What is normally called the holiday season. So I know many of you are excited, you're ready to get decorated, you're ready to get things done. But sometimes with the new season, holiday season, it's not so fun for some people.
Right.
The holiday season can really usher in some depression, some grief. And so we kind of wanted to touch on that because we wanted to just maybe share our view and maybe some stories that we've had, but also some statistics of what that is.
That's right. Yeah, you're absolutely right. You touched on, I think, what a lot of people will relate to, that the holiday season for a lot of us is a lot of fun, but it can also be stressful. It can also be a time of sadness as we're missing our loved ones or people that we can't be with, even if it's just for traveling or even if it's loss of family members. So it is, it's a different season for a lot of different people. And although there is so much joy in the holiday, which we're going to be talking about joy too, and some episodes coming up. As I was researching, I thought this was really cool because I did find some interesting things. I mean, as we're introducing the subject, we all know just in conversation that holidays are tough for some people because of our own experiences. Michelle, you're going to share with us today, which I'm looking forward to hearing about that. But online, I found a really good article from medicinenet.com that talks about this is actually a disorder for a lot of people and symptoms that they will feel with some of this. And some of you may say, well, I don't think I have a disorder during this time or a depression, but you'll have different feelings of sadness or something that you just can't shake. But what I was researching, this is called seasonal affective disorder, and it's kind of like a seasonal depression. Certain people may feel anxious or depressed around the winter holidays. Some of the factors include unrealistic expectations. How true is that?
Right.
We're expecting our holiday to go a certain way, especially as moms and women and wives. We're expecting, our house is going to look a certain way, or we're going to eat certain meals, or we're all going to come together and get along.
Or the kids are going to say, Mom and Dad, I love the gifts. They're perfect. It's exactly what I wanted.
Or they're going to behave when they're all together.
Right, because what is that really, like when we have expectations, there's always been that saying that says unmet expectations is what leads to anger and resentment. And I really had to do that because I would have these expectations, but I never voiced them to my kids or my children or to my family or my husband or whoever. I never voiced those expectations. So when my I can't even talk today. Expectations weren't met, then it was like I would be resentful, I would be sad, I would be grouchy, or I would be angry.
Even know why.
And they don't even know why, but then I didn't voice what I expected,
Yeah, and I think sometimes during this time, even if we voice it, do you ever feel like you're not understood about it, as far as maybe if we talked about it among each other as girls and women, and we said, hey, this is what I thought was going to happen, we would kind of get it, but maybe our husbands or even our kids wouldn't understand. So I think it is neat to have the awareness that unrealistic expectations is common during the holiday season, and it can cause you to get upset and even angry. Another thing,
even realistic expectations that still aren't met.
Absolutely.
That's true.
That's good. It talks about financial pressures. We all know sometimes we're wanting to do more for the holiday than we actually are able to, and that's something that has to be addressed among every person as well with your family. This is huge. Excessive commitments. We know, girls, and I think that we're pretty good about being aware. We talk about it a lot. Michelle, you're really good about talking about you're saying no and what that looks like and not having to explain. I learned that as well. I've told my friends, there's Shalene Johnson is a lady that I've followed for a long time, and she talks about saying no and how important it is, and she looks at it from a business and entrepreneur aspect, but it's so important for your soul. If you say yes to too much, it's too much, and too much is not good for you. It's not good for your soul.
Exactly.
So some of the other things you'll experience with this is stress and fatigue. People are very affected by the over commercialization of the holidays. I've read articles on Facebook or even online about people getting upset about, you know, the decorations being up too early and just different things, how they affect you. This really does bother people. So
that materialism run amok. I think a few years ago I blogged about that because
Yes.
I actually had to go return something, and it was prime like Christmas time, and it was something not even a Christmas gift, but I don't know why I didn't even realize it was like the week of Christmas or something. Thought, oh, we'll just run there, we'll do that. And then it was just
Good
like
luck.
my spirit was heightened, and these people were like snatching stuff out of baskets, and I was just like, I had to come home and say, this is materialism run amok. It was just, people were just, I guess, last minute shopping and grabbing and flipping out, and it was pretty stressful.
Yeah, absolutely. And that. I think, Kim, you have some stuff for us as far as how to.
To the seasonal affective disorder, the acronym SAD, and that's really all it is. It's not happy, it's sad. We think it's this joyous season, and it should be, and it is a joyous season, but there is some sadness, and it's not necessarily you're depressed, you have a disorder, but people who have no history of anything or have just a normal like mental health will often go through this. And so to wonder, you know, am I just sad today, or is this really this seasonal affective disorder? You might find heaviness in your body and your limbs. You might find that you're frequently oversleeping. To me, that sounds kind of awesome, but you know.
But it might be a disorder. Dang it.
I'd rather it be called a nap, but maybe it's a disorder.
That's good.
Cravings for carbohydrates and weight gain. I always like to attribute this to cold weather and needing to put weight on, but that's because I'm from the north, and down here maybe we don't really need that. So maybe if I'm craving extra carbs, there's a problem.
Yeah.
And relationship problems. You're either not wanting to go out and relate to people, or you're just having, you know, some people are looking for fights, and maybe there is a real problem. So what's also interesting is you have an option, of course, of getting medication for this time of year, or light therapy. They have lamps and stuff. If you can't, you know, take that vacation to the Caymans and get some sun or something, there's other options, which that would be best for all of us, of course, if we could all just go together.
Because I was just thinking about that. Usually in this season that we're ushering into, we have very few, especially in Houston, we have very few days where we have those crisp fall days where it's bright and sunshiny and cool. You know, it's either can be rainy or it can be cloudy, dreary, and cold. So that light, but also I was thinking too, you know, the light therapy is great if you can't get sunshine, but also vitamin D. Because I know years ago I was very deficient in vitamin D because I'm very fair skinned, and I would put sunscreen on and everything, and I didn't really spend a lot of time out in the sun. But a good vitamin D supplement too, because that kind of helps in that season. I know that's when I feel like my bones are getting kind of achy or kind of things like that. I'm like, I haven't taken my vitamin D, and it's kind of the winter months, but that's probably the light therapy and things is probably because of the sunshine.
Right. You know what I love about this show, guys, is we're talking about this, and while we may not personally be affected by this stuff right now, we may be sitting here thinking, you know, that's not something I struggle with, but it's bringing an awareness to us and to our viewers. If you are affected by it, or you notice behavior in your family members or even your friends, that you're not quick to not so much judge them, but quick to, you know, pounce on it and say, hey, why are you being this way? You have an awareness of, well, maybe something's bothering them. How can I come alongside them during the holiday season? Especially, like, I think of my mom in the past, you know, as I was reading through some of this stuff, it makes sense to me. For my mom, she lost her mother, my grandmother, around Easter time when I was 11. And then she lost my aunt around another holiday, and I can't remember, kind of in May, Mother's Day, in between different things for our family. And I remember thinking my mom was never the same around holidays. You know, it was a hard time for her to celebrate knowing that these people so close to her were gone. And if we have this kind of information and awareness, not only is it the knowing, but it's being able to pray for that person. And kind of know where their heart is.
Yeah, because, you know, holidays are really hard. And I mean, I know this is going to be 9 years ago, in just a couple of weeks, I lost my dad suddenly. And it was a few days right before Thanksgiving. And so I remember it just being really kind of crazy, and it was just a weird time. But not really wanting to celebrate Thanksgiving each year. I lost my brother suddenly a few years before I lost my dad, and it was right around our spring break, and we used to really love and celebrate spring break. And I found myself, I didn't want to do anything for spring break. And then, you know, of course, when Christmas came, or just Easter or different things like that, I really didn't want to celebrate them. and I had asked, my husband and my kid, let's do something different.
Yeah.
And I know that the first year probably I didn't do very well, but it was actually something Dr. Phil said. I had caught a Dr. Phil show, and this was back, what is it, 8, 10, 9 years ago.
Yeah.
When it was still the real Dr. Phil show, not this new show. But he made a comment. A lady was saying, like she had lost her family members during the holidays or whatever, and she could not get past that date.
Wow.
And so she would celebrate the day that they died and couldn't celebrate anything else. And he said something along the lines about, why are you celebrating the day that they died and not all the wonderful memories and all the different things?
Yeah.
And so that really stood out to me, because I thought, I still have children. I have a husband. I have a family. I have people that are relying on me, and I could go to bed and I could pull the covers up and say, y'all are on your own. I'm not cooking for Thanksgiving.
Right.
Or I can say, for me, let's do something different. And that's what we did. We went out to dinner a few years and then we came back, and then I've cooked the last couple of years, but kind of really simplified it. But also that is really hard, because we get stuck in that grief and that depression. And for me, I know that it was a disservice to my family, because I was
powerful,
saying,
Michelle.
but my dad's not here. But look at all the people that are here, that
yes.
are around me and that love me and that are relying on me and things. And so, I mean, it wasn't easy, definitely. Even thinking about it here, it kind of gets me a little teary-eyed. But, there's so much. And if we recognize that and know that the holidays are hard for people that have lost loved ones. And like you said, your mother just really wasn't the same. I'm sure if you asked my kiddos and said, Mom, really, it wasn't the same. But I think they saw that I really said, I've got to be here for those that are here.
You come to a different season.
Yes. And said, I've got to get over that. But it's a very real thing, because I know.
Yes. Thank you for sharing that. That's really, I love that story. I was glad you shared that, because I think a lot of people can relate to that, for sure. Okay, so I found a couple of really good quotes that I wanted to share. And first I'll start off with some of the things we can do to alleviate a little bit of this. One of the things, which again reminds me of you, because you're very aware of that the holiday season is not always joyous for everyone, because we have a lot of friends, we have a lot of people that we do life with, us especially do have a group together that we see every week, and this is one of the things it says. There are other things on the list that you could do to kind of alleviate these feelings or help yourself or get help during the holiday. And one of them was, it sounds so official, but increased social support, which means have more be around people. Have a couple of friends you can call. And I know with our Divine Connections group, we all have, most of us have families, smaller or kids that are still at home, but not all of us. And you were very good about once Christmas time came, or even the summer, as we're all breaking, ready to go on a vacation with family or whatever, you've always been good about, we're still going to meet. This time is still available to meet, because you want to make it a place that the people that don't have family here, the ladies that maybe didn't have children, or their children are gone, or their husbands are not here, that they have a place to come to and have that social support. So that's so important. I love that. It made me think about you when I read that, and about our group. This is a great quote. Like a tree, a woman can't carry the weight of 2 seasons simultaneously. In the violent struggle of trying, she'll miss every bit of joy each season promises to bring. And that's by Lisa Turkhurst. Again, and she's talking about seasons. I mean, we are talking about literal, the seasons are changing, but this also is too talking about, seasons happen all throughout the year. Right. And in America right now, we're just going to be celebrating a big time holiday season. Right. We just have to come to a place where we ask God, this isn't a new season. This is a different season that we're stepping into. We're all happy the weather's going to change. More pumpkin spice stuff everywhere. Red and green will be popping up, and the fall stuff. But God, we ask ourselves, what do you have for us this season? We want more joy this season. How do we do that? What does this season look like for us?
Right.
So.
Right. And, just today, November 1st, there's a lot of those challenges that are starting all over, Facebook, and social media. They do the November Thankful challenges and things like that. So that's a really great thing, because when you do adopt that attitude of gratitude and the thankfulness, it can definitely help with this season, coming in. Like today, we're actually shooting this today, November 1st. I mean, you'll watch it in a few days, but November 1st, it's a new month. It's ushering a new season, a new day. So there's a lot of great opportunities and new chances and new maybe challenges coming. But if we adopt that attitude of gratitude and just really say, what am I going to celebrate this year?
Oh, that's good.
What am I going to celebrate
that.
this year? Am I going to keep celebrating my losses, the things that I missed out on, the things that aren't going right? Whatever we're focusing on, that's where we're going to be. And so we need to be really mindful that, but maybe we celebrate the small victories and things, like sometimes not everything can look beautiful on the outside, but we can celebrate, this went right, or this is good, or this is the next thing I'm going to do to try and pull myself out, or maybe the next new thing is to say, I've already recognized that I've started to backtrack and I've tried to isolate. Maybe that next step for me is just making that phone call and saying, I really struggled during this time of year. And so I'm going to need you to hold me maybe accountable. I'm going to need you to help me. I really suffer from grief or depression, during this time.
I like that. What will we celebrate this year, this time of year, especially? What are we going to magnify?
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, what are we fixing our focus on? I actually have a couple of friends that I've had for 10 or 15 years now that have thanked me for just constantly asking them to get together when we had just met and we didn't really know each other, and they would turn down any invitation I offered. And it's one of my friends, and you know who you are, it took 2 years for her to actually say yes and get together, and she's my best friend now. So but that's the thing, is it's not to say that she was having seasonal depression at the time or anything, but you don't know why people aren't getting together or why you haven't heard from someone, and if they are feeling depressed seasonally or any other way, they probably aren't as likely to reach out. So just taking the little bit of time to periodically think of, who haven't I heard from lately? Who can I check in on?
That's good, Kim.
That's
I
good.
like that. Another, this was just a little tidbit as well. Just because we're going into the season, like I talked about, of we extend ourselves as mamas and wives. The excessive commitments. This is Lisa Turkhurst from The Best Yes book. If you have not read that, it's really good. Never is a woman so fulfilled as when she chooses to underwhelm her schedule so she can let God overwhelm her soul. So if this is a time for you when you don't have a lot of family in your home and you're looking around and everybody else is busy doing things and you wish that you had that, use it as an opportunity for God to overwhelm your soul. So be thankful you don't have the overwhelm. Use it as a season to be thankful that, God, I can spend more time with you. Or I can pour more, that one-on-one time I've been missing, now I can dedicate and do that with you. Or one of the things I was reading about, and this wasn't a Christian article, it was just a regular article online that talked about, giving help during this season, going out and helping somebody else, finding different volunteer opportunities that will bring you good cheer. We all know that. It's very biblical. Right. But where you may not think, I don't feel happy to go out and help someone, it will actually help you feel better if you give yourself that opportunity. But I love Lisa Turkhurst's stuff about, being able to say no and using that time, wisely. Or it doesn't mean you have to sit in your Bible the whole time, but just chill, enjoy reading a little bit of God's word or a good devotional, and then just move on and just relax.
I love that, because I love what we did is we really downscaled our holiday season. And so what used to be a very stressful time for me, and then, I had to do everything. And especially when I was in the corporate world and my twins were younger, I had this overwhelming guilt that, I must buy them all this, and I must have it all wrapped beautifully, and I must have presents halfway up the tree, and I must have the stockings hung, and I must have these big elaborate meals, and I must buy for I must do this, and we must say yes to all these cookie parties and all these parties and this and that, and serve in church and do all of that. And again, I was thinking, I I was overwhelming my soul with my commitments and all these things. And I was thinking, that's not the beauty of it. And when I really stripped back that and said, let me underwhelm my schedule and my commitments, boy, I tell you what, it has just been, I mean, we don't stress it at all. And of course my kids have gotten older, so it's gotten easier for me, but it's just such a beautiful time. And you know, my husband works a job for a company, and it's like being married to Santa. You know, so I don't see him the whole peak season, you know, until Christmas Eve. So when my kids were younger, I was really resentful of that, because I was like, when is he going to get home on Christmas Eve? You know, we have bikes to put together. We have this, we have that. I need some help. And then it's just now looking at it as, and when I scaled back to that, then I could serve him better and say, he's really busy during peak season. He's really tired. And so if he gets to come home on Christmas Eve and just, you know, have a nice meal and go to bed, and then we get up Christmas Day, because sometimes he's only off Christmas Day, depending on how it falls. And so then it's just really like we make that Christmas Day all about, you know, just really being together and celebrating each other.
I love how you just said he's just like Santa.
It is,
Oh, Joe, Santa Joe. That's going to be his new nickname.
You know, it was just like that. And it was, you know, I'm sure, you know, like, you know, Mrs. Claus probably, she didn't really like Santa was gone, but that's really how it felt like we didn't see him the whole season, you know. But instead of being resentful, you know, now I can see that, you know, let's celebrate him. All those things don't really matter. And I've told this story too, you know, when my son was little and I felt guilty, and so I had to buy all those things. I caught my son telling some kids, you know, we're at the house, and he's telling them, he's like, yeah, we had Christmas presents up, and I'm like, what a little turd. You know, what am I creating here that he associates Christmas time with how much you get? And once we downscaled and really understood the true meaning of Christmas and helping people, my kids love to go out and help people. And one thing we love to do, though, that is really good, is we like to bless people, but secretly. You know, like put some money or a card or encouraging verse in a thing, and then we see them, and then, you know, my kids will say, I feel like we should give it to that person. And then we just very discreetly, you know, like if the guy's, you know, doing something, we'll just kind of set it in their basket at the store. They won't see us, or kind of give it, you know, to them, and then and then kind of hide around the corner, you know, and they're like looking around who they blessed, you know things. And so it's nice to do that in just different ways. So I think there's different ways we can celebrate it.
Yep, agreed. And that's good. Like what I am hearing, and what I think we all have to remember with our different experiences, is you use those experiences you've had, and you take that wisdom and you applied it, instead of looking back at it with the resentment and the, all those years, you know, we missed this. You're looking at it, and you even took action in those moments too. But you look at it as, that was a season, and now you're in a new season. And God gave you wisdom now that you can share with other people. If this is a struggle that you have with your husband, and you know, having to work during holidays, or you're really busy and you feel, I've heard a lot of parents talk about the guilt, moms talk about the guilt thing, you know, if they're working moms. And we have to remember that, you know, whenever we're placing the judgment or the, you know, saying, oh, well, they do this or they do that, you know, where's that coming from? You know, and ask ourselves too, and if we're the ones doing it, why do we do that? Is it really that important? You know, do I really need to do that every year? It's good stuff. Good wisdom, girls.
Well, you're bringing me back to a Christmas probably 20-something years ago that we maybe had gifts halfway up the tree. And it was right after Christmas dinner. I think I started undecorating, and then I went to bed and I put the blanket over my head, and I probably cried some. We had just moved. I had a 4-month-old. She 5 months old. She was 5 months old, and I had just moved 700 miles a month before that. Around Thanksgiving, we moved from all of my friends and most of my family. So it was probably the hardest Christmas I've ever had, and hopefully will ever have. But I was thinking, what have I done? What kind of life is my daughter going to have? And I had real valid concerns. It was Indiana, so I was a little depressed just because of that. But so it was cold and it was gray and all that. So I probably had some of that seasonal stuff going on, not getting any vitamin D and things. But now it's my favorite time of year. What is it? The most wonderful time of the year. That's my thing now. It really is. I've come around. Now I don't get my seasonal depression until probably end of January, February, and it really just is a vitamin D issue at that point for real. But yeah, you go through stuff. You go through stuff. You come out of it. That's the important part.
Right.
That's so great that you share that too, because it reminds me of a story too when my kids were little. You know, my husband working the peak season, but I always wanted to decorate the Christmas stuff the day, the day after Thanksgiving, I guess,
yeah,
you know. And a lot of times my husband
all the
would
cool organized
he would
people
get
do,
the
not
long
me.
weekend, but he would look at that like, I really want to rest this long weekend
Yeah,
for
I bet.
Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
And I would be like, the yard art that goes across the whole yard, all up in the attic and all the lights and
You
all
had
this, and
your
it
list.
needed to be
Yeah.
up.
And you're like,
and
I
I would
need
get
you.
so mad, and he'd just be like, I said, and I remember we got into a huge argument over this. He probably doesn't even remember. He might remember. Our kids were very small. They don't even probably remember. They were probably like 2 or 3. So, the stress of twins, and then we
Yeah.
were both work
Yeah.
corporate jobs and doing all that. And I was so mad, and I got so angry. I just left all this stuff, and I left. This is really bad. And I went and checked into a hotel. And I spent the night because I needed to catch up on my sleep. But I didn't recognize that until the next day when I felt so bad because he's thinking, she just left and she didn't say anything. But I was so mad because my expectations, and he was wanting to rest. I couldn't hear anything else, but my body was depleted. I had twins. I'd just done the big Thanksgiving.
And the moment when you did it, did you think you were doing it for sleep, or did you do it because you were
No,
mad?
I did it because I was mad and I
Yeah.
was like this and that.
Yeah.
But then after I was by myself and I some sleep, I thought, that refreshed. But again, I had to apologize because I'm sure that really hurt him. But I remember I got so mad that I did that.
Yeah.
And so
You gave him that rough bye Felicia, didn't you?
I did. I gave him that rough bye Felicia, but just for 24 hours and things. And it was funny because then the next year he was all like, "Oh, should we do it?" And then I stopped.
He's like, she got
and
that
I-
Holiday Inn in the back of her mind.
I know that was bad, but then I started having my kids help me. But then it was
Yeah.
this whole fight because my kids were like, "We want to play with our friends," and so they would halfway start helping me. Then they'd be riding their bikes or scooters down the road, and I'd be stuck with it all. And so a few years ago, I said they were all shocked. I said, "I'm selling all my yard art. We're not. We put literally a wreath."
Yeah.
And then maybe one string of lights around the front door, and that's it. My husband, he'll still make jokes, and he'll say, "Wow, she's come a long way."
Oh, yeah. Oh,
But the
that's-
lesson in that story is take care of yourself.
Yes,
It's in the
yes.
season.
Yeah.
It's busy, and you
Yeah.
know,
Right.
You're
spend
so
your grace.
funny. You just make me laugh.
I just remember that story. He's probably gonna be like, "You shared that
I
with
know in the
everybody."
moment it's not funny, but I can just imagine you being like, see ya for a little bit.
Yeah. So we're not asking you to run away from your
No,
family.
do
We're
not.
not asking you to pull the covers up and hide. We're asking you, as you usher in this new season and this new month and then months ahead in this holiday season, that you will reach out to people if you're feeling grief or depression, and that you will maybe find a new way, a new view on how you look at the holidays. We hope that you'll stay tuned. Our next episode is going to be all about joy, and you don't want to miss it. Thanks for joining us.